All right, guys, welcome back to another lesson. In this lesson, we're going to talk about cutting, and we're starting where we left off from the last video, which was starting a new project. But before we get started and going through all this footage, I first want to just go through the layout, take a couple minutes to explain for you what we're kind of looking at so you can understand what we're doing better. So first off, let's start off with the core of editing, which essentially is the timeline, which is what we're looking at right now and where all of our footage is. And these are called tracks or layers. And essentially, you have the video layers up top, which are video layer 1, 2, 3, etc. And then the same goes for the audio. So down below, this thick line in the middle is audio, all the audio layers. And up over here, we have our media bin as earlier. And then over here, we have a few buttons that are good to know. We covered in keyboard shortcuts. I never use these buttons. I always use keyboard shortcuts to get to these tools. But if you personally want to come over and click here, this is a selection tool. You'll never use this tool. This is a track select forward tool. Again, ripple, edit, delete. This is a good tool, but you won't really use it as a beginner. And then right here, you have the razor tool, which is how you will cut your footage. And then over here, you have a slip tool. Again, this is a little bit more advanced. You don't need to know this right now. The pen tool, the hand tool, and the type tool. The only tools that you're really going to be using for the cut page right now, or what we're about to get into, is the selection tool and the blade tool. Now, what we're going to want to do, again, before we get into cutting, is sometimes clients will send you audio files that are unnecessary like this. If we play through, you could hear it's just background sound. See, we don't need that audio, and to save yourself from going crazy, what we're going to do is there's two things you could do actually. First, you could just mute it by clicking the M button right here, and then it's gone. Or what I personally like to do is I like to just get rid of it. I like to just highlight all the audio and then delete that. So now it's gone. And that way we could go through this and not have to be annoyed by the filmmaker's audio. All right, so now you guys are ready to start cutting and going through the footage. The first thing I personally like to do is I like to make some room for myself here, because we're going to be spending most of our time looking at this right here. So I like to make the media bin a little bit smaller by just coming over to this line. And when that icon pops up, you could just click and hold and then drag it to the left. So that way we have more space in the timeline. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to drag this over. And now we have a bigger timeline to look at. So I can zoom into these clips. And let's start with the first clip, and let's just start going through, finding the hero shot inside of each clip. And then we're basically going to put those together to form the final video. So let's start going through it. So I'm just going to play. That wasn't good, so I'm just going to delete that. So I'm going to highlight that and just backspace delete. And then just play through. So this is a cool video right here, a cool clip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this over. I'm going to click play. And right there, it starts to go in focus. So I'm going to click the keyboard shortcut B, which activates the blade tool. I'm going to blade right there because I like that effect, how it's coming in blurry, but then it comes into focus. It's kind of a cool intro shot maybe. So let's click play. And then so right there, the light starts to come in. So I'm actually going to go back a couple frames. So the arrow keys on your keyboard, the left arrow key will just go back a couple frames. You could just click that until you see this start disappearing, until that disappears right there. So I'm going to cut right there. As you can tell, editing is very tedious. So I'm going to delete that. And I'm just going to go through the rest of this clip to see if there's anything else good that comes out of here. So let's just play through. It's just very repetitive. It's the same thing here. Let's see what this one looks like. Comes in again. That one's nice too, but it was a little bit more shaky than this one, I think. Yeah, so I think I'm going to stick with this one. So I'm just going to delete this one right here. And then here is the clip that we have from that. Perfect. So now we have this empty gap between this clip and these clips. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight that empty space. We're going to click on the empty space, and you could just click backspace and then backspace again, and then it'll bring those clips together. So right here is your playhead, this blue line, and you want to come up here to this yellow line to be able to maneuver through your timeline as I'm doing here. So I'm just going to take that playhead and I'm going to drag it to the beginning, play it. So that clip looks nice. So now let's move on to the next clip. Let's see, just spinning around the bottle. I think we might be able to use that right there. So let's click our keyboard shortcut B to activate the blade tool. Let's just go a little bit further back. Shaky, and then it starts to smooth out right there. So let's start the first cut right there. Let's click the space bar to play, and it gets shaky right there. So let's go back and see right there. So I'm gonna pause it and then make my end cut right there. So I'm gonna delete that first part, and then again, as I did with the last video, since the clip's a little bit longer, I'm just gonna make sure I don't miss any potential hero shots or better shots. So I'm gonna continue to go through this clip. All right, so let's see, get in a little bit closer. Not a fan of that shot at all in the slightest, so I'm actually just gonna delete that. Okay, so as we did last time, click the empty space, backspace, and you can see our two clips. You could just see how it's starting to come together just by two clips. So if we go back and we click spacebar, and then boom. Now, I'm not gonna put it in that order. I'm first gonna cut and then put it in order. But you could just see how, you know, finding the hero shots in each clip, how it could just immensely improve your video already just by doing it to two clips. So now we're going to move over in the timeline and we're going to start with our third clip, which seems to be repetitive and pretty much the exact same thing as the last clip. So I'm just going to trash that and move on to the next one. Another thing really quickly that a lot of professional editors do, I'm just reckless and delete my footage. But what a lot of editors do is they're a lot safer than I am. So if they don't like a clip, for example, if I don't want this clip, they'll just move it up and then they'll come over here to the eyeball and click on that, and it essentially disables that track so you don't see it any longer. And that way, just in case they need that footage later, they could have it. But as I said, I'm a reckless editor, so I just like to trash my footage if I don't like it. But, you know, to each their own, you could choose what you prefer. Okay, I think that could possibly be a cool shot. So let's start right there. Let's click the B for blade tool, blade right there. And there was just like a weird missing frame or dropped frame in that video. Maybe it was just the playback on Premiere Pro. Yeah, that was my fault. Okay, so I'm gonna stop it right there. And later on, we'll fix these clips up to make it look better. But let me just see if there's anything else in this video. No. Okay, so let's delete that end and that beginning, and then we're gonna keep this part of that clip. Perfect. So we're gonna go back, highlight the empty space by clicking on it, backspace, and now we got 3 clips ready to go. We're making our way through this video. Okay, cool. So we've already gone through 3 clips so far. For you go-getters out there, I want to invite you to do a little bit of exercise. I'm gonna continue to edit the rest of this video, but as you see, there are a lot of clips. So if you want to go off on an exercise and do it yourself, you already have seen the concept of how to do it by watching me do these 3 clips. You can go out and edit your own video with this clip and just go on and do it yourself. Or if you'd like and you're more comfortable just following along with me step by step, you can continue along the editing journey with me as I go through the rest of these clips. It might be a little bit longer of a video for you, but again, we invite you as an exercise to go edit yourself if you prefer to do that and not follow along the rest of this video. So now that that's out in the open, let's continue on with our next clip. All right, so let's look at this clip. I already like the way this clip looks. I'm pretty sure that's a hand, and I don't like that. Let's see. Come on. Okay, good. It got out of there. This is a really nice clip of a bottle, and I really don't want a hand in there. That looked a little weird. It looks like it's stopping. Okay, I feel like it's like while it's spinning, it's kind of jittery. And I don't know if that's the software or if that's the video. So there's a solution to this. I have to do this all the time. So let's do this. We're going to go to the beginning of this clip and we're going to click the keyboard shortcut I. And then we're going to go to the end of it and click the keyboard shortcut O. And that's for in and out points. And what we're going to do is we're going to do something called rendering this clip, because sometimes the playback in Premiere Pro can be a little bit glitchy, and you want to render out your clip. If you're not sure if it's the footage or the software, it's always good to be safe and render it out. So now that we put in point and out point on this clip, we're gonna go up to sequence, and we're gonna just click render in and out, and it's gonna specifically render the points that we selected. So once that renders, you see these 3 lines right here, we could right click that and then click clear in and out, and that'll get rid of that. So now you see the line is green, no longer yellow, which means it has been rendered and it will play back perfectly. So we'll see if those jitters were because of Premiere Pro or because of the filming. And it was because of the filming, because it's still there. So that's good to know. Nothing's wrong with the software. You see, when you're editing, you have to make really hard choices. Like, I don't know if this is... I love this shot, but I don't know if I want to clip it or if I want to cut it and save it, but it's a little bit jittery. I'm just going to move it up top. I'm going to be a safe editor right now. Move it up top and save it for later and see if there's any other clips like that aren't jittery, and we'll see later on. So we're going to skip that for now. I can't decide. Okay, see, so this is a similar clip, but it's still, let's see. Okay, so there was just a lot of unnecessary movement in that, so I'm just going to delete that. I'm not going to use any of that. Okay, this we could definitely use. I like that. That was clean. It's a little bit shaky, but we could fix that up later. Also, a little trick we could do later is, you see how it ends blurry? I really like the look of shots starting blurry and going into focus, so we could always just reverse that clip, which I'll show you how to do later, but I'm going to save that because I really like that. So I'm going to cut that there. And if you move your head in reverse, the playhead in reverse, you kind of get an idea of what that would look like. So like that, I really like that. So it would kind of look like that if we reversed it. So I'm going to save that. So because this is similar to this one, I can delete that one, the clip that I saved for later. So I'm going to highlight the empty space again, backspace, bring those clips together, keep my timeline all nice and tidy. And let's move on to the next clip. Let's see. Okay, this is a much better spin than earlier. Let's see. So I'm going to stretch right there. So I'm going to B for blade tool. And I'm going to make my first cut right there. And it goes a little bit out of focus, which I don't like. Let's see if they fix that. Let's see. The bottle's on a piece of paper I just saw. Okay. Yeah, that's a much better spin. So we're going to just pretend we didn't do that, and we're going to make another cut right here. We're just going to disregard that. And we're going to make that cut right here. So it starts right there. And then let's make our second cut right there. Let's go back a couple frames. Right there. Perfect. So let's just delete these. And then again, let's see if there's any other nice hero shots in this clip that we could use. I'm thinking not. Okay, so let's delete that. So we did at least get this nice clip out of it, which is cool. I think we could do a lot of cool things with that. So another thing too, if you don't want to highlight in backspace, or sometimes Premiere Pro likes to just not work with people. So when you highlight the empty space in backspace, sometimes it won't work. You could just click on your clip and drag it, and it will connect to the other clip. But when Premiere Pro is working nicely, I really like this feature of highlighting and backspacing because it just saves you some time. So let's go on to the next clip. Not a huge fan of that. There's not enough bottle, too much table. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Okay, so that was a cool shot actually right there. Again, this is something we could reverse because you can see it goes out of focus. So if we move that back like that, that might be kind of cool. So let's cut here. And then let's make our second cut right there as it goes out of focus. Perfect. Let's move that up before we start deleting this clip and see what else we can get from here. Okay, so okay, let me rewind that. You know what? I kind of like that clip right there. I'm kind of torn on it. So I'm going to make my first cut right here, and I'm going to just end it right there. It's a little bit shaky. We might be able to fix that clip up, but I'm going to save it just in case. All right, so we're switching angles now. Let's see. I don't think that that shot would flow. The moving down to up very vertically like that, I don't think that would flow with any of the shots that we have so far, because that's another thing. As an editor, you have to really understand flow and pacing. Otherwise, your videos won't flow nicely together. Because as you see, like, these are hard cuts that are being put together. Like if we look at the beginning of our video, these are all separate clips that are like, if we zoom in, these are cuts and they're hard cuts. But if there's pace and flow, you won't even realize it's cutting because it'll just flow together very nicely. So like that vertical shot, I don't think will go well just because the pacing and the flow of that doesn't really go with the video so far. I feel like the theme of this video so far is a lot of like spinning shots or like close-up shots, not really anything vertical. So we're gonna delete, well, let's see, we're gonna go through these again. Yeah, so we're gonna save this one right here, and we're gonna delete this, and then we're gonna save this one right here. So those were the two parts of that clip that we cut. Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going through this past clip right here, and we forgot to cut this. So I'm actually going to delete this clip because that's unnecessary. I just forgot to delete that. So now we've made it pretty far into this video. We still got quite a little bit more cutting to do. But just to make this a little bit more digestible for you, we're going to go into the part 2 of this video, and that's going to be cutting part 2. And we're going to continue to cut and start where we left off here. So if you guys are interested in continuing to cut with me, or if you guys like to go off on your own exercise, you can go ahead and just cut this video yourself. But if you want to continue with us on the next video, you're welcome to cut along with me. So that's it for this one. Let's move on to the part 2.